Living in Australia is far from impossible, but there are certain factors that might lead some people to believe that it is. This belief often stems from perceptions about Australia's harsh environment, dangerous wildlife, geographic isolation, and the high cost of living. By examining these issues, we can understand why some might find life in Australia challenging, while also highlighting the resilience and adaptability of those who live there. In this video, we will explore various facets of life in Australia that might be considered impossible to some, providing a detailed analysis of environmental, social, economic, and cultural factors. Number 1. Harsh climate and natural disasters. Australia's climate is known for being extreme and unpredictable, making it a challenging environment for habitation. The country spans several climate zones, from the arid deserts of the interior to the tropical regions in the north and temperate zones along the coast. One of the most notorious features of Australia's environment is its vast, dry interior, known as the outback. This region experiences scorching temperatures, often exceeding 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, in the summer. The lack of water and vegetation in these areas makes them inhospitable to most forms of life, leading to a sparse population. Those who do live in these regions face significant challenges, such as limited access to water and the need to travel long distances for basic services. Moreover, Australia is prone to natural disasters, such as bushfires, floods, and cyclones. The bushfire season, particularly in the southern and eastern parts of the country, can be devastating. The 2019 to 2020 bushfire season, referred to as Black Summer, burned vast areas of land, destroyed homes, and claimed lives. The frequency and intensity of these fires have increased in recent years, partly due to climate change, making them a significant concern for residents. In addition to bushfires, the northern part of the country experiences severe tropical cyclones and heavy rainfall during the wet season, leading to widespread flooding and property damage. Living in areas prone to these natural disasters can be stressful and require constant vigilance and preparedness. On the other end of the spectrum, droughts are a recurring problem in Australia. Prolonged droughts can lead to water shortages, particularly in rural areas, and have a severe impact on agriculture, which is a vital part of the Australian economy. Farmers face significant challenges during droughts, often struggling to maintain their livelihoods. Water restrictions are sometimes imposed in urban areas to conserve resources, affecting daily life for millions of Australians. The unpredictability of the climate and the constant threat of natural disasters contribute to the perception that living in Australia is difficult, if not impossible, for some. Number 2. Dangerous wildlife. Australia is home to some of the world's most dangerous wildlife, which is another factor contributing to the belief that living in the country is challenging. The country's reputation for deadly animals often overshadows its incredible biodiversity, leading to fears about encounters with venomous snakes, spiders, and marine creatures. While these fears are often exaggerated, the presence of such wildlife can be daunting for those unfamiliar with the country's fauna. Australia has a large number of venomous snakes, including the inland taipan, the most venomous snake in the world. While snake bites are relatively rare due to widespread awareness and education, the fear of encountering a deadly snake can be a deterrent for some people considering life in Australia. Similarly, spiders such as the Sydney funnel web and the redback are infamous for their venomous bites, although antivenom is widely available, and fatalities are extremely rare. Australia's marine life also contributes to the perception that it is a dangerous place to live. The waters around the country are home to creatures such as the box jellyfish, blue-ringed octopus, and great white shark, all of which have the potential to be deadly. Shark attacks, while rare, receive significant media attention, amplifying the fear of swimming or surfing in Australian waters. Additionally, in the northern regions of Australia, saltwater crocodiles are a serious threat. These massive reptiles are known for their aggressive behavior and can be dangerous to both locals and tourists. Despite the precautions that are taken to minimize the risk of encounters with dangerous wildlife, the presence of these animals can contribute to the perception that Australia is an impossible place to live. Number 3. Geographic isolation. Australia's geographic isolation is another factor that can make life in the country seem challenging. Located in the southern hemisphere, Australia is far removed from many of the world's major population centers. This isolation can lead to a sense of remoteness and disconnection from the rest of the world, particularly for expatriates or those who have family overseas. The long flights and significant time zone differences between Australia and regions such as Europe and North America can make maintaining personal and professional connections difficult. Traveling to and from Australia is both time-consuming and expensive, adding to the feeling of being cut off from the rest of the world. Within Australia itself, the vast distances between cities and towns can also pose challenges. The country's population is concentrated in a few major cities, such as Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Perth, which are spread out across the continent. For example, the distance between Sydney and Perth is over 3,900 kilometers, 2,400 miles, which would take more than 40 hours to drive. The geographic spread of the population means that travel within the country can be costly and time-consuming. Remote and rural areas, particularly those in the outback, often have limited access to essential services, such as healthcare and education, further contributing to the perception that living in Australia is difficult. Number 3. High cost of living. The high cost of living in Australia, particularly in its major cities, is a significant challenge for many residents. Housing prices in cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane have skyrocketed in recent years, making homeownership difficult for many Australians. The median house price in Sydney, for example, exceeds odd $1 million, placing it among the most expensive real estate markets in the world. Renting is also expensive, with residents often spending a large portion of their income on housing. This has led to concerns about housing affordability and a growing number of people facing homelessness in urban areas. While Australia boasts a relatively high minimum wage and strong labor protections, this also contributes to the overall high cost of living. Goods and services, from groceries to dining out, can be more expensive than in other countries. Australia's geographic isolation and reliance on imports also drive up the cost of certain products, such as electronics and luxury items. The combination of high wages and high prices can make it challenging for residents to maintain their desired standard of living, particularly in the country's major cities. Healthcare costs can also be a burden for some Australians. While the country has a public healthcare system, Medicare, that provides access to essential medical services, out-of-pocket expenses for dental care, prescription medications, and specialist services can still be significant. Many Australians opt for private health insurance to cover these additional costs, but premiums can be expensive, particularly for families and older individuals. The high cost of living, coupled with the expenses associated with healthcare, adds to the challenges of living in Australia. Number 5. Cultural and social challenges. Australia is a multicultural society with people from a wide range of backgrounds and cultures living together. While this diversity is one of the country's strengths, it can also present challenges for those trying to integrate into Australian society. For expatriates and immigrants, adapting to Australia's culture and social norms can be difficult. Australians are known for their laid-back attitude, sense of humor, and love of outdoor activities and sports. While this can be appealing to many, it can also be challenging for those who come from more formal or reserved cultures. Social interactions, workplace dynamics, and communication styles may differ from what some newcomers are accustomed to, leading to feelings of isolation or culture shock. Australia's history with its indigenous population also presents social challenges. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have faced centuries of discrimination, dispossession, and marginalization. Despite efforts to address these issues through reconciliation and the recognition of Indigenous rights, significant disparities remain between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. Indigenous communities often face higher rates of poverty, unemployment, and health problems compared to the general population. For those who are concerned with social justice, these issues may make living in Australia more complex. Racism and xenophobia, while not unique to Australia, also exist in the country. Some immigrants and people of color have reported experiencing discrimination and exclusion in their daily lives. While Australia has strong laws to combat racism, the persistence of these issues can make life difficult for some individuals, particularly those from minority backgrounds. Despite being a multicultural society, Australia still grapples with issues of inclusion and equality. Number 6. Environmental concerns and sustainability. Australia's natural environment is both a source of pride and a cause for concern. The country is home to unique ecosystems, including the Great Barrier Reef and vast rainforests, which are under threat from climate change, pollution, and deforestation. Environmental degradation is a significant issue in Australia, with many ecosystems at risk due to human activities. The Great Barrier Reef, for example, has experienced severe coral bleaching events in recent years, caused by rising ocean temperatures. This has led to widespread damage to one of the world's most important natural wonders. raising concerns about the long-term sustainability of Australia's natural environment. Water scarcity is another major environmental issue in Australia. The country is the driest inhabited continent, and many regions experience water shortages due to drought and climate change. This is particularly problematic in rural areas, where access to water is essential for agriculture and daily life. The increasing frequency and severity of droughts have placed a strain on water resources, leading to conflicts over water usage between different sectors, such as agriculture, industry, and urban development. While Australia has made significant strides in water conservation and management, the ongoing challenges of water scarcity and environmental degradation add to the perception that living in the country is difficult.